Hi everyone, Pam at the Paper Outpost today, and today's a special edition of Take a Look Back in Time with me at one of my very early journals. This was a journal that I made. I think it was my second journal, possibly third, but second or third journal. And I probably made about 300 or so, I think. So you can kind of just bear with me because it was at the very beginning of all this. But this journal is not for sale. This is something that I made so that I could house my grandparents' papers in them and display them in a way that I felt gave them honor and they weren't just shoved in a box stuck in a cupboard somewhere. So I'm hoping you might enjoy this little peek through. I know that a lot of you do have special papers from your relatives and your family, from immediate family to abroad to so many things that we love to treasure. And this is a great time of year to think about these things, the appreciation of family. So with that being said, let's get to it. I wrapped this journal in a lovely linen, I think it's a placemat possibly. Sorry, I'm not the best at linens and things and china and that, but I wrapped it in a gold ribbon. My grandmother and grandfather came from Hungary on my dad's side, and well, I'll just tell you a little bit about the story, but my grandmother came by herself with a young son. She had a son by a first gentleman, and I don't actually know what happened to the father of that person. I think he may have been killed in the war, or so the story goes. And then my grandmother grew up on a farm, and there was a young farmhand there. She was 25 and he was 16. So, you know, back in the day, this was quite the scuttlebutt. So they decided to come to America. And I believe my grandmother came first with her first son, and my father is the son of obviously of my grandfather and my grandmother, but the farmhand. So that's how that all came about. So this is a tribute to their journey. And this, I believe this was a manila folder. It has a softish cover. It's not super hard. It's been a while. I haven't looked at this in a long time, so I am revisiting this with you. And I put a little eyelet here for closure, and then I was learning how to do the eyelets. Put another eyelet here, and just put a piece of lace through it to keep it closed. Thought that was easy. I put this little old charm of a mirror. Thought that reminded me of Grandma. All right, so don't worry, I'm not going to go through all the old papers and all that. You don't have to read them all, but yeah, I just thought it would be fun to see. Oh, this is a classic. This is probably my favorite picture of my grandma. My grandma is the lovely lady on the right, wearing that very, very, you know, outspoken, skin showing bathing suit. You gotta love that, right? Okay, I did love that. And here's just some very old papers, and these are from 1916. I am in the process of trying to get these translated so I can understand what they mean, but I can't read them, so that's coming. That's coming. More papers from travel days, original handwritten letters from my grandmother, and look how they were the writing is so tiny on this paper. I mean, things were very precious back then. Paper, airmail, things were you didn't waste a square inch of anything. And I just put a little piece of fun and ephemera in here. And this was a little a pocket I made out of a handkerchief. I always remember my grandma and grandpa always had handkerchiefs. That was a thing. She had one tucked under her watch always, so it was at the ready. If you ever need it, that nose, you know, it was dripping. You were covered, you know, you got an injury. That handkerchief was there. It was probably not the most sterile thing in the world, but Grandma, you had it covered. We were good. Just more very, very old written papers. Just love this paper is so delicate. And I was discussing with Robin, a lovely lady who is also in the process of creating a journal for housing her special papers from her family. And yeah, I don't have the heart to tear apart or glue these papers, of course. These are just being tucked in and nestled inside this journal to honor my grandma and my grandpa. So the first half is basically Grandma, and the second half, I did have some papers from my grandpa too, so he gets a little bit of a show at the end there too. Just a big doily and just a fun little page. This is actually the boat, the Cunard line, Some of you may recognize that because apparently it's a very famous line. It may even still be present today, but that's the ship they took over. And here's just some more old papers. 1927 old papers. Lots of old papers. I just grabbed them all and I put them in here. And just wanted, oh, I drew a little yoga bunny. This was a very early yoga bunny drawing. Not that good. Sorry, Grandma. But I just tucked it in there, and I just wanted her to know I was thinking about her. I was learning how to do some calligraphy, and I'm forever learning how to do that. My handwriting is horrible, and when I really slow down, I do much better. So I'm trying to encourage myself to slow down. More old papers, writing spaces. I thought as I learned about what the papers actually meant, then I could put little notes on the actual journal pages relating to this document shows, blah, 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 blah. And that might be fun. They got a second sitting, table number 42, third class. Hey, they were traveling it up down there with the cows. And at least they got a chair. More sittings, and they saved all that. So the fact that they saved all that meant something to me. You know, she remembered that journey. That was quite the journey in her life, and I really wanted to hang on and respect that about her. Here's a little notebook. Apparently I was giving myself more journaling space. How kind I was in the early days. Okay, more old papers. Oh, this is a holly feather. I just thought that might be fun because, you know, thinking that the quills that they used to use to write, this is probably, they had pencils and pens at this time, but, you know, just old-fashioned writing. Old papers. Just lots of old papers tucked into different pockets, different things in here. It's just a little, what is this? I forget. Oh, probably just a little card. Made just a little card out of a stamp. Yeah. Oh, yeah, a little motivational stamp in there about our creator. And this was an old envelope. Just put a button on it. Learning about these things. And here is some her old certificate of Canadian citizenship. I thought that was kind of cool. Old music pages and more old mystery papers. I've actually scanned all of this, so I am going to find a translate. Oh, here's my lovelies. This is Granny. And this is Grandpa, and I just wanted to put there, these were probably passport pictures back then. They told you, don't smile. You never notice in the old pictures, especially from the 1800s, early 1900s, nobody smiled. Well, that's kind of the way it was. Here's an old postcard from somebody a long time ago. Probably, yep, it's probably in Hungarian. Yep, can't read a word of that. Okay. And more old papers, and I didn't want to throw away anything because I didn't know what it was, so I just housed it. And this is a project yet to come when I finally learn what all these papers are. But what a great way, you know, especially when somebody passes away and you have an opportunity to actually, well, you know, sometimes you're the one that gets to go through all the old papers, and that's sort of what happened to me. So I found it a great honor and a privilege to be able to do this. And oh, this is somebody's passport, or it could be Grandma. I think we're into Grandpa land now. Yep, there is his passport. There's my guy. There he is. What a cutie. Such a good soul. And sometimes it's up to you to go through all the papers. And it's amazing the things that you find as you go through. A bunch of receipts. You know, I get to see what they bought, what they were interested in, maybe projects around the house or hobbies or stuff they needed to, you know, conduct their lives. A whole bunch of envelopes here. And oh, we also have, you know, here's some, this is actually my mother's handwriting. I found this. We found out what she was doing in those days. And here is an old bank record. I thought that was neat. You know, when we actually used to write down things. That was such a different time, wasn't it? All right. So, oh, we have some extra. I guess I wasn't completely finished here. I found some pictures of the Cunard line online, and I just printed them out, and I thought I would put them in here. I guess I didn't quite get to that. Thought I did. Okay. I thought that looked like Grandma, maybe waiting for her husband to come from the old country. Oh, and then I found that her first name was Cecilia, and I found this old music by Herman Ruby And I thought, oh, I have to save that and put it in her special journal. And then I found this poem called Come My Cecilia, or Mycelia, which is very similar to her name, and I put that in here as well. So that's pretty much it, just some coffee dyed paper, and I did some trim with some lace around here. And nothing super fancy, but it was a joy to create. And sometimes it's more about the experience than, you know, does it look perfect? Does it look, you know, appropriate to show or something like that? This journal means the world to me because it is the home in my heart for my grandma and grandpa. So, you know, I encourage you, if you're trying to think of what to do with a journal, maybe look at some of the old papers you have around your house. Maybe you don't have to go to all those other places to find somebody else's old papers. Maybe they could be your old papers. And maybe this can be a treasure trove or a special treasure chest for your family and for your special things that remind you of family, home, and hearth. So I hope this brings you some inspiration and some joy. And if you do any things like this, I would love to, like these, I would love to see them on the Facebook, or you could just tell me about them. That's awesome too. But yeah, this is a wonderful way to house ideas and for the love of family. So take care, everybody. You have a wonderful day. And I'm thinking about you, and I'm so appreciative for all your support and encouragement. And your feedback and your comments mean so much to me. It really does help me to know whether I'm on message and I'm on track to get the idea out there that fun can be simple, and you really help me share that. So thank you very much, and I hope you all have an incredible day. Bye.